Welcome to the Gal's Guide to the Galaxy podcast, where a group of gals gather for you one cool thing around our topic of the month. Is it ancient history? Is it breaking news? Is it safe for work? Well, that's up to each gal. All we know is that...
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Hello and welcome to the Gal's Guide podcast. We are so sorry it has been a few weeks since you have heard from us. There has been medical emergencies, there has been car accidents, and there has been moments of, I don't know, let's call it midlife crisis, fear, or general anxiety that have kept us away from the mic. And almost this evening, a flat tire almost kept us away from the microphone. But we are back, and we are dedicated, and we are here to stay. In fact, this show's resurrection is because of the two out-of-this-world gal pals that I have with me tonight. The first up is a gal who, if Rick Ashley was the library manager of Gal's Guide, he would never give you up or let you down, and she would be Bonnie Fillinsworth. That's right. So, Bonnie, remind the good people about yourself and how awesome you are.
I am a visual artist. I do paintings of women throughout history, and I'm the library manager and secretary of Gal's Guide.
Yeah, you are. Awesome sauce-wise. Now, Gal's Guide has two podcasts, this one and Your Gal Friday. And when we talked about some changes to Gal's Guide, it was this gal who saved this particular show that you are listening to. She reminded all of us how fun it is to get together and to share one cool thing. Because there are so many cool things in the world. But each gal pal brings together their own uniqueness on the world and adds to this range that this wonderful show can have. Plus, we get to drink during the show. Margaritas are tonight. And so that's really nice. So how about a big virtual hug, because she likes those more than physical ones, Katie Harris.
That is a great intro.
See?
Well, I am the vocational services manager. Title upgrade.
Yes. Oh, look at that new title upgrade.
I know. So my passion in life is teaching kids with developmental disabilities life skills, vocational skills, and things they're going to know to have happy adult lives. So that's what I do during my day job. And then try to cheerlead all of you guys in the meantime with the skills, the talent, and the passion. But I was really inspired the last time I was on the podcast, so I'm happy we're going to continue doing it.
Yay! We love that you're here. Yes. So as for me, I am Dr. Leah Leach. I am the executive director of Gal's Guide to the Galaxy. And I have been through the ringer. I think that is probably fair to say since the last episodes that we have uploaded. But I have clinged on to my sense of humor. I have sunk my teeth into my tenacity for research, because I do still love some research. I mean, that's really hard to take away from me. But last week, I was in a car accident where a gal didn't see me, pulled out in front of me, and I had nowhere to go. So I've been kind of living in this fog of, if I didn't turn just a little bit to the right, it would have been a totally different situation, and we both wouldn't have walked away with just only bruises. So it's kind of freaking me out a little bit, I'll tell you that, right? Yeah. I'll show you guys the pictures if I have it. Oh my gosh, it's just that little bit. Oh, but we're both okay. So that's very nice. You guys haven't been in a car accident in a while. I mean, Bonnie, you had a flat on the way here.
Yeah. I rear-ended once, and then I had one lady, I was going straight, and she decided to turn left.
Oh, nice.
And she shouldn't have gone.
Right. That sounds exactly what happened to me.
I ended up kind of turning right to try and avoid her. What freaked me out is later, it's I don't remember, it was a 2-lane. I don't remember which lane I was in. And I don't remember looking to see if anyone was over there. I just remember going.
You just went, and you were trying to avoid her, and luckily nobody else was there. Oh.
And this was freaking me out later. I was I don't remember looking.
This is true. I had a no man's land, but I feel ya. No. If that was a one forward, one, yeah. Have you been in a car accident, Katie? Lately? I don't want to bring up trauma. I'm just saying, if you're pass, that's fine.
No, in college that totaled my car. So, and I was okay, physically. Yeah. But yeah, it's traumatic because it's kind of that moment where you realize how little control you have. You're kind of at the mercy of how well everyone around you is doing.
And your reflexes.
Right.
You don't even know
thankfully,
why you do certain things.
And thankfully that kicked in for you guys.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you guys are okay.
Exactly. Fun stuff. Well, normally I hand it off for somebody else to do their one cool thing. But I figured I would share my one cool thing first because it also kind of explains why we've been on break for a little bit. So it kind of like, it's a both for. It's like, why haven't we had an episode in a little bit? Well, my cool thing to share, it's like tiramisu, but it's not tiramisu. Okay, I mean, tiramisu is awesome. I know, I should have had some. I'm sorry. You know, layered cake. But even though tiramisu is a cool thing, my cool thing like has layers. Some are not so cool. Some I had no idea of. And some layers are just like I wanted to share my knowledge and, you know, empower some gals that are out there. So
I like how fancy you are.
I know, right?
Because Shrek's an onion.
See?
Yeah.
Leah is
where's this-
tiramisu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I was like, is this a texture thing?
There's you guys heard of Macklemore? Do you know who I'm talking about? The rapper
Yeah.
Macklemore? Okay, the
I
One
know.
Love guy.
Yeah.
And Thrift Shop, obviously. I think actually Thrift Shop is probably more popular. He has a song called Downtown, and he has a lyric of "There's layers to the shit, player. Tiramisu.
Oh, I'm going to have to listen to that now.
I have that cross-stitched.
Oh, of course you do.
So anytime there's
That's
like
amazing.
multiple reasons for something, we now call it tiramisu because there's layers to the shit, player.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's a Macklemore reference.
Love
right
it.
there. Plus, it's tasty.
Yeah.
Onions aren't tasty; they make
No.
you cry, right?
Yeah.
So I thought it was a better kind of like metaphor. Sort of thing. So my one cool thing is the main reason why we were on break, and Bonnie and Katie are already familiar. I mean, this is not going to be like, what? I mean, they're not going to be gasping. They kind of already know. I'm not burying the lead with them. But I have been dealing with the nightmare that is fibroids. That is why I have kind of been on break, and I feel like I've been almost in timeout for a bit. So now if our listeners have dealt with these little buggers, you know that they are not fun. And if you are going through this now like I am, then know that I am in solidarity with you. And if you're just now hearing about them, buckle in, because according to the Office on Women's Health, in the U.S., they say between 20 and up to 80% of women have fibroids. There was one study that said 80% of women have them. And I'm like, that's a nightmare, right? So now for something so common, if we're talking about upwards of 80%, I thought I would at least have heard about them. Or, I don't know, seen a commercial of like maybe a really happy lady eating a salad while the narrator talks about the side effects of, I don't know, bowel inversion and then, of course, sudden death. Because those are like my favorite side effects.
Right.
But for some odd reason, I haven't seen a happy lady eating a salad trying to sell me medicine on fibroids. So I had to learn about them. Sweet. But before I share what I have learned, I will have the glorious disclaimer. So I am a doctor of metaphysics. That means nothing, by the way. So I'm not a real doctor. I am not a medical doctor. So if you are listening to the show and you think you might be suffering from fibroids, please call an actual official OBGYN. They would be much cooler to talk to and advise, sort of thing. And also my first OBGYN, as you'll hear in a minute, was bullshit. So I hope you get a cooler one than I did. So what uterine fibroids are. Okay. Here's the glorious definition that terrifies you when you read it on the internet at like 2 a.m, right? They are non-cancerous tumors, love that word, that are muscular growths in and around the uterus. They have been described as hard little rubber balls in your body. Yeah. They can be the size of a seed, you know what I mean? Like a microscopic seed, and they can be as big as a basketball.
Fuck.
I'm
glad.
Yes. I know, right?
That's all I got for that.
No, that's fair. That's totally a fair assessment. The Mayo Clinic said in extreme cases, multiple fibroids can expand the uterus so much that it reaches the rib cage. They ain't messing around with these things, but they're non-cancerous tumors, guys. I mean, that sounds great, right?
Benign. So friendly.
I'm so glad they're not cancerous because they don't sound like a nightmare otherwise. Oh my God, right? Yeah.
You don't have to worry.
So most women don't even know they have them. That's the other thing. I mean, really, it's until you start showing symptoms of them. And a lot of times they cause no symptoms whatsoever. So, like, you have them and you're totally fine. You know what I mean? They're non-cancerous. They're just kind of floating around in there.
Hanging out.
Exactly.
I saw one
waiting.
in my ultrasound when I was pregnant with Jonah.
Did they tell you it was a fibroid? Or did
They
make
told
you
me it was a
guess?
cyst. They did tell me.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
like
don't think they told
I
me.
don't know if they said cyst or fibroid, but they were definitely like, "Oh, you got a little growth here, but it's cool." I'm like, "No."
Sweet.
Okay, sorry though,
And
but
you
I'm
know
like,
what?
I know what you
Probably-
mean because I'm part of that
Yes.
80%. I don't have any symptoms. I would have never
Right.
known, except when they were looking at my like pregnant ultrasound. They were like, "You got a bonus thing over here."
Right.
They do anything about it later? Or is
No.
If it's
No.
not bothering you, they
No.
really don't care
Yeah.
to. It's
Alright.
it just kind of stays there. So, all right.
chilling,
So, Katie, this is going to be for
growing.
you, and hopefully not for Bonnie. Let's just go. Maybe it's not
Yeah.
like the 3 out of 3 kind of
I'm
scenario.
already freaking out enough about the chickenpox thing, the later in life chickenpox.
Oh,
Shingles.
shingles. Oh, Katie got shingles.
I
Yeah.
had chickenpox as a kid, and
Yes,
a friend
I
of
had
mine
chickenpox as a kid. Yeah.
got the shingles at 30, and
Oh.
I'm like, I want that vaccine now.
You shouldn't get shingles if you had chickenpox.
No.
You can get it
yeah.
if you had chickenpox.
If you had
Oh,
chicken
no.
pox, you have the virus in your system, so it
I
can
thought
like
it was the
reactivate. No.
Then I wasn't nearly as scared as I should be when you had it then.
chickenpox round 2.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
No, thank you.
you
That's
can't
not fun.
catch. This is such a side thing, but
It's
just
fine.
for all of our listeners,
We
since
love
we're going
sidebars.
deep into the medical,
Dr. Katie, bring it.
I'm bringing it because I love self-diagnosis and it's never steered me wrong. That's wrong.
Absolutely.
That's not
It's
true.
always a tumor.
No, if you can't get shingles from a person, but somebody that's never had the chicken pox could potentially get the chicken pox from being around somebody with shingles. I don't think it's super common, but
Got it.
it's not impossible.
Gotcha.
Right. So you couldn't have gotten shingles from me when I had shingles, but
Because I wasn't worried at
if
all.
your
I'm like, I've had
body
chickenpox.
decides like, hey, we're kind of stressed, we're kind of, we're kind of freaking out, and we had this virus when we were a child, and let's do it again.
Yeah.
Because it was before I was
That is a
30 that I
nightmare.
got shingles.
Yeah. And like
Yeah.
they normally don't give you the vaccine until you're like 60 or
Right.
Because that's
Right.
usually when it usually
Get it
breaks
again?
out for people.
Well, that's what they say, but I hear lots of stories of people young, so I've already been
Give
there.
it to me now.
My mom got it in her
Lived it.
50s. So, I
I think
mean,
it's usually like around your like torso or something.
my mom got it on her back. You got it on your shoulder?
It was like my shoulder, and then it crept around through my armpit, and then across onto my tit.
That is,
Yeah,
that's a gift
because
that
it
keeps
follows
on
like a
giving.
nerve pathway, so I was kind
Oh,
of like
yeah.
lateral on one side.
See,
Yep.
that was your stress nerve right there that went from tit to back. No, I feel
Tit to
that.
back. When you have that tit to back stress.
Exactly. Why isn't that on a t-shirt?
But let's talk about these tumors on our
Oh,
inside.
I'm sorry. So so
Yeah.
to add to that
Yeah,
beautiful
yeah.
picture
What else do we have to look forward to?
is the tumors on the inside.
Mm.
So the most common symptoms that women experience are weird periods, honestly. And not all of us gals are really cool with talking about our periods. Like, we kind of usually keep that on the down low to ourselves. However, I've learned that the gals at this particular table are all down with talking about periods. So it's lovely. Honestly, I think something that happens every single month of a woman's life for 50 years of a woman's life should never be something that we feel shameful about talking about. I mean, I'm just saying. But it is amazing how much I'm like going, I really want to post on social media about how bad this period is, but yet I still hold it back.
I don't.
And I don't want to lead us astray, but I feel like I have to come in with
Yes.
my son. He's 7. I explained to him the other day what menstruation is.
Thank you.
Nice.
And
And
I
I-
appreciate
I
that.
told a friend of mine, and she was like, "Why would you do that?" Like it was
Every
I
woman
was like,
experiences at some
right.
point.
Half the population menstruates.
Exactly.
But-
More than half. It's like because women are like 51%.
51%.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the great part, and let's get this recorded and out there on the interwebs forever, is after I explained it to him and everything that happens, he's like, so am I going to lose my testicles every month?
It's not that equal or scenario.
Right. I was like,
But
no.
I wanted you to tell him yes
And then-
just for like a couple
right.
of days.
And then when I assured him no, none of those things would be happening to him, he said he was very glad that he is male.
Right, my male.
Right.
Yeah, no, good. Yeah, that's great. I'm happy for him.
Right? Right.
Let me tell you how your body's going to hate you. No, I'm
Yes.
just kidding.
Tell us about these.
Exactly. So, yes. So the most common symptoms are heavy menstrual bleeding. I describe it as a biblical flood. I mean, that's the best way. Like, it's not normal. It's like, holy crap, that much can... Yeah, I'm just saying.
Like, you could stage crime scenes.
Pretty much.
Oh,
yeah. Like, you're going... Like, have I lost a limb is kind of like how you start to feel after a while. Not only that, but they last more than a week. I'll go into a little bit more detail. I had one last 5 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a nightmare. There's also common symptoms are pelvic pressure or pain. It's another fancy word for cramps. You know what I mean? I mean, that's kind of like a normal period thing. Frequent urination or difficulty emptying your bladder because it kind of can put pressure on your bladder, these little circle balls. Constipation, because, you know, if you don't get one, you got to make sure you get the other one too. It's a gift. Yeah. And then also backache or leg pains. Yeah, that's especially if you get them when they're bigger and they push on like a nerve or something like that. So it depends on where they are.
So basically you're going to be miserable from the waist down is what they're telling you, huh?
Pretty much. Sleeping is interesting. It's really, really great. It's kind of, depending on how big and where, it's almost like you've got a bowling ball or a pool ball that you're sleeping on. It's like, I guess, Princess and the Pea scenario, but in real life. And in your
body.
Right, exactly. But in your body, you just can't get comfortable on one particular side, which is just great. So fibroids, they feed on blood and estrogen. So that's why I call them little suckers, because I feel like they're little vampires always like trying to get blood and getting estrogen. So that means that these wonderful little gifts that are fibroids, #sarcasm, they can shrink and go away during menopause. So yay, they'll go away during menopause. But if you are like me and you're a bit away from menopause and you don't want to just kind of like wait this crap out, you have to worry about anemia and wild mood swings because your estrogen is all over the map. And that's fun. It's like basically having PMS the entire time you're kind of struggling with fibroids. You don't know if it's a murder day or if it's the happy I'm going shopping day. Right, or the cry, like, why is this commercial the saddest thing I've ever seen day? Yeah, it makes life quite interesting. I really feel sorry for my family. So for me personally, to kind of like paint a picture of this is, you know, like what the Mayo Clinic and stuff says. But for me, so I had an IUD and I had my IUD removed. I'm pretty sure it was over the 5 years, y'all, because those things only last 5 years. And I think it was year 6. I think I stopped paying attention. That was not a good thing of me.
Actually, from my research, you'd be okay.
Oh, okay. There is like
Once
a leeway.
again, disclaimer, we're not medical professionals.
Correct. Paper doctors.
But I obsessed about that too, and they're like, they're not going to endorse it for over 5 years, but most studies they've done have said it's okay past 5 years. But
I don't know why I can't remember.
Like 7 to 10 or something crazy
really?
like that.
I was thinking I'd heard some of them last up to 10.
Because I can't remember anything past like 3 years. I'll be like, that was 3 years ago, right?
But
and somebody will be like, it was 6. I'll be like, what the hell?
But they can move around and they can do funky things. So that's not to say that that didn't have influence it.
Right, exactly. So so I had that thing taken out. And then like a day later, I started bleeding so bad that I thought like she nicked me as she took this thing out. And so I thought it was a surgical thing. But at the same time, I'm like going, all right, hold on. She took out something that suppresses estrogen. And now my body's like, oh, we get this in abundance. So maybe it's just like, this is the crazy period you get because you removed a hormone, right? So I waited 5 days. 5 days of not really being able to function, worried that I was kind of bleeding out. So that was fun. So then I went back to the doctor. They gave me, they had me do an ultrasound. So I got the ultrasound and I saw 2 circles, one on the left side, one on the right side. For some odd reason, I cracked the ultrasound technician up because I said it looked like a narwhal. And she's like, I've never heard that before. But it had like a little pokey thing on it. And it was like a whale shape, and it looked like it was trying to yell at me or something. And I'm like, it's a narwhal. And then the other one was smaller, and it was on the other side. But she thought I was hilarious, but I think I was just delirious from blood loss is pretty much what was happening. And I was panicking. I was trying to make her calm. But I'm like going, no, that's cool. My narwhal, because I thought I had cancer. I'm like, look, my cancer looks like a narwhal. This is going to be fun. So I get into the doctor's office, you know what I mean, like a half an hour, 40 minutes later after this ultrasound. I've been panicking in the waiting room the entire time. She's going to tell me cancer. It's going to be cancer. That's what it's going to be. And she's like, yeah, so you have fibroids, and do you want another IUD? And I'm like, no, not really, not exceptionally. I've had 2 of them in a row. I'm kind of done with them.
Yeah.
I'm good. She's like, okay, well, you're still going to continue to have, this sort of thing. If you can't handle your periods, you should get another IUD or have a baby.
Oh. Or have a baby?
Or have a baby.
Was this a male doctor?
No, actually, it was a female doctor. And I was kind of in shock at that point because I'm like, first of all, it's not cancer. I'm like, I'm still kind of on that loop. I'll be fair. What do you mean it's not cancer? And what the hell are fibroids? Like, I didn't know what that was.
Right.
But she said it in a way that was like, you have a little sniffle. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have the flu, you don't have pneumonia, you have a sniffle. And she's like, okay, but your blood pressure's a little bit high, so, maybe check in with your doctor and see how your blood pressure's doing. My blood pressure was high because I thought I was going to die.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, no, go bye-bye, lady. Go bye-bye, because I think we're done here. So that was fantastic. That particular period lasted 3 weeks. So I had 3 weeks of that. And I'm like, crap, so what are fibroids? Then I had a break from the action. Thank goodness. I had like a 4-month break. So I was like, oh my gosh, maybe my body's normal.
Right.
Maybe it's totally fine.
You've
it's
regulated or whatever.
I shamed myself into never having a period again. Because I know I can take it. I'm strong enough to take it.
You got a year's worth done.
Exactly. Maybe that's what it was. Like, I bled everything out of my body. I've got nothing left. Then I proceeded to have a 5-week period. That was like every day was the day from hell. But I was bleeding so bad. So I was having fatigue. I was having wooziness. I was really just kind of like sitting on the couch going, am I doing this now? Should I be doing, like, I didn't even know, kind of like it was like it's this fog. So I told a few people, Katie and Bonnie, of course. So these were my gals that I told, and I'm like going, I don't think this is right. This is just weird. And then it stopped for 18 days. During that 18 days, I got the flu.
I remember.
So
oh my gosh.
And I'm like, it stopped. Oh, thank goodness it stopped. And then the flu that went around my entire house. My kids got it. My husband got it. I got it. I was the last person to get it. I got the flu during an 18-day break, where it then came right back again, and it lasted for 2 weeks. So I was like, oh my God. So I decided that I have to fix this because my anemia was so bad at that point that I'm like, I've got nothing left. I'm a vampire drained at this point. Right. So I made an appointment to see a brand new OBGYN. And actually, that is tomorrow, by the way. Tomorrow, I get a second opinion, brand new OBGYN. I had to overcome the whole shaming of it. You're not just strong enough for a period thing. You don't talk about periods. You don't talk about this sort of thing. And then fibroids just always made it sound horrible. You know what I mean? It just doesn't. It's like, what the hell is that? But so then I decided mostly because of my anemia and waiting for the OBGYN to actually deal with the fibroids, I'm like, I'm going to go see my general practitioner. Yeah. I'm going to see my basic doctor. And I'm going to make sure about anemia. Because really, what sucks is for anemia, they can only do one of two things. They give you an iron pill. Woohoo. I already have that in a multivitamin. And you can also eat lots of Cheerios. Which I've been doing that. And spinach and iron-rich foods. Or they can give you a blood transfusion. Like, if it's really bad and you don't have enough blood in you, then, they hook you up to some blood. And, there you go. Right. So I went in to my general doctor. I told her the situation. I said that I've seen 2 fibroids and then, these are my periods and this is what's going on. She's like, do you want a full lab work? Do you want to see everything? And I'm like, I would love that. I want to see everything. She's like, I want to see how your liver's doing. I want to see how your cholesterol is doing. I'm like, beautiful. Right. Let's do this. Let's conquer this. So I get the call back on my labs. And they give me all these glorious numbers, and most of them I know what they mean. And, like, my blood pressure's fine. For some odd reason, my thyroid's fine. That's cool. I mean, fibroids can mess with your thyroid. And every time she kept saying thyroid, I would talk about fibroids. And she's like, yeah, but your thyroid's fine. And I'm like, honey, I'm talking about something else. I know it rhymes, but I'm talking about something else.
That's scary.
So my I had a fatty liver, and I'm like, not surprised, because that also has to do with too much estrogen. Your liver's trying to process your estrogen out. So, and my enzymes were high, and I'm like, well, duh. Not only that, but like I have no blood left in me, and so my liver's working overtime trying to produce. And my sugars are out of this roof. They diagnosed me as diabetic, and I'm like, okay, but I took a test when I wasn't fasting. And my sugars were messed up because I had a shit ton of sugar for breakfast that morning. I'm just saying that mocha lattes are a thing, and I might have had 3 of them before this doctor's appointment. I didn't think they were going to test me for everything.
Right.
I still said yes. So she's like, so diabetic. And I'm like, all right, I will deal with the whole diabetic thing later, because I know that it's part of this whole other problem. And I also know the test was like, we need to do another test. And I'm like, okay, so how was my iron levels? How was my anemia? And the nurse practitioner said, we didn't test you for that. I was pissed.
Furious.
I'm like, are you kidding? By that point, my headache went away. My slurring speech went away. And I wasn't feeling dizzy all the time. So I'm like, well, fine. I know I don't need a blood transfusion now.
Is it because you were filled with rage?
I was probably filled with rage. I think so. I think the blood then returned to my body in rage form and decided we fight
Some
this.
rage blood.
Oh, I'm just saying. I couldn't believe that. So that's kind of where I am at with fibroids. But at the same time, I have started doing diligent research, because you have to fight for your own health nowadays, which is ridiculous.
Right.
But you do. I should have asked for a CBC. That's what you actually ask for to figure out if you are anemic. I didn't know those words. I have watched a lot of doctor shows in my day, and yet I didn't know what that was for.
I've never heard it.
Yeah, so that tells you your count blood cells, and it tells you how much iron is in your blood, apparently. I don't know. I hope, yes. Again, not an actual doctor. But that's what one of my fibroid books, actually by Joanne Skilling. The book is actually called The First Year of Fibroids. I've been reading it. I absolutely highly recommend it. It's lovely. And in that book, she recommends what can be done. So there are multiple different things that you can do depending on your situation and depending on what you want to do. So because, I want to give the good people some hope, if you will, the treatments she listed are... number 1, ignore it and hope it goes away. I mean, that's the first one.
But you know what?
It's an option.
You just told us you're going to give us a whole list.
Yes.
When your doctor told you could get another IUD or you could get pregnant.
Correct.
There's 2 options
these
only
are
for dealing
options.
with fibroids.
Exactly.
So, and it's true. I'm really proud of you for fighting for your health, doing the research, doing your diligence, saying this isn't right.
Well, because I don't believe that a Katie or Bonnie would let me die by fibroid. I think you guys would be like, why aren't you fighting this?
I'm still in shock that she recommended you have a baby, like as a medical treatment.
I know. Well, she was a baby doctor. She gets paid the most amount of money if I have a baby.
But that's just so weird.
It is weird. It's like 1940s weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So number 2, you're also going to like this one, Katie. Watch and wait.
These actually ignoring and watch and wait are my go-tos with health problems.
There you go. Right.
I'm on board.
See, there you go. They
got my attention.
There you
go. Like cookies in the oven, like you can't watch it.
Yeah, you get ultrasounds like every 3 months if you want to watch and wait to see if they're growing, because then they can tell how fast they're growing and stuff like that. That's the watch and wait part. That's the excitement of, ooh, has my fibroid gotten bigger this month? Exciting, right? Number 3, of course, lifestyle changes. Now, we know what this means. Diet and exercise. Diet and exercise. Ironically, and I'm beating myself up for it, I was vegan for a whole year. I quit being vegan because I was about to go on vacation and I really wanted cheese and meat. And all of this started. So I'm like, did quitting vegan cause fibroids? No. I mean, odds are they have been there for a very, very long time. But I'm going back on the vegan train. A lot of meat will, if it doesn't already have hormones in it, actually produce more estrogen in your body. So it's not a bad idea. And the same thing for if you're having dairy products that come from cows that have, hormones, therapies in them and stuff like that. So if the hormone is in the animal and then you are eating the animal, guess what you have? You have more hormones. So it's like, crap. So I'm going to try that. Alternative therapies. That is your word for your acupuncture, for your meditations, for all that kind of good stuff. I've never tried acupuncture. Have you guys ever tried acupuncture?
No.
You don't want needles, do you, Bonnie?
Well, now I'm like, it's like, what's her name? Dr. Pimple Popper or something?
Yeah, the pimple popper. Yep.
Like I watch that stuff. But
Right.
like if I'm ever in a hospital and I've got a thingy in my arm, I will probably pull that out.
Oh,
I'll be
gotcha. Like the IV?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll probably like, no.
You're like, no.
Like, that's like way in there. But that thing's, I mean, you don't bleed from those, right?
No, they're
under
super
there.
tiny. Yeah.
I'd be like, how the heck does this work?
That's the part of it where I would just kind of go in and be like, this is a chance to like relax for an hour.
I'll be like
I just close my
poking them,
eyes. Yeah.
making them go boing.
What about just maybe some massage therapy?
There's that too. Yeah,
There you go.
exactly. Yeah. So I think,
No pointies.
and I don't know, there probably is the, the pressure points, you know what I mean? The muscles in the veins, and I can see that. But I know for me, relaxing for an hour would probably do a world of good. And in any way, shape, or form that would come in would probably be awesome. Hell, I could put on basically my iTunes, you know what I mean, for like an hour and just be like, the world is gone. And I could feel a lot better. The next one is drug therapies. A lot of the drug therapies, it can be herbal drug therapies, but it also can be hormonal drug therapies. There is options of putting you in menopause. Now, what I heard about this from a friend of mine is then you get menopause twice.
Ooh.
Oh.
So think about
thank
it.
you.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, so it would fix the problem for a while because menopause would then start shrinking the fibroids. You would have less of a problem. You'd be in menopause. You wouldn't have periods. But apparently the whole hot flashes and all that comes again.
So how did they take you out of menopause the first time?
Slow down the medication of the hormones. Yeah. And then and once you're feeling better and they slow it down because they can only keep you in a anti-hormone state for so long, so you can only take those meds for so long, and then you're cool until real menopause happens. Yeah, because your body's like, you don't get to pass go on this one.
I heard a lady at work is going through menopause, and I think she told me menopause can last like 10 years.
What?
It's like,
I need to ask more people about it because my God. That is a long time. I always picture it as just like the worst year or two of my life is just always what I'm picturing, but I don't know. But I have no idea.
I figured maybe 5, but when she said 10, I was like, what?
I know, right? Yeah, that'll be my next bound of research. Number 6 is image-guided treatments. These are the lighter version of horrible as far as these treatments. One of them is called uterine artery embolization. There's some lasers happening. There's some burning.
Not like the fun kitten kinds.
No. This is, but I mean, there's also just like laser treatments where they shoot little lasers kind of at your fibroids to hope to break them up and shrink them down. There's a couple of different variations. Like I said, they all sound lightly horrible because the really horrible versions are number 7 and number 8. Number 7 is a monomectomy, which is cutting the fibroids out, right?
Yeah.
There are 3 different ways that they do that. So I will let anybody search how they really want to do that, but there's basically 3 different ways that they can go into your body.
I want to know.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. It's just, no.
Okay.
So how much? No, what?
I'll Google it. No.
Okay.
I legit want to
3 different
know.
ways.
Okay, no, I'll tell you the
Through
legit
the
ways.
vagina.
Yes. And
Through
then,
the
like a
abdomen.
Yeah,
type.
through the abdomen. So it's basically like a cesarean. That's the word that I'm searching for. The other way is to laparoscopically, you know what I mean? Like a little needle that kind of goes in.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that sort of way where they can kind of do a little hole incision and remove.
Sorry, I really do need things spelled out.
Oh, you're fine.
I want
exactly.
to hear it all.
I didn't want to traumatize with the surgery. I don't know why the surgery part is like, oh
I'm
my
still
God.
trying to figure out how they get the laser
Kind of like
in
cuts them up.
there.
Yeah,
But, like,
it's almost
do you
on
have
the
to cut
surface.
you open and
No.
then laser you?
No,
That's my
because it
laser
goes through the
sound.
surface of the skin. It's almost like the nice pew, by the way. It's kind of like, I don't know, extreme sun rays, extreme gamma rays, stuff like that. It just, Sure. I know, right? Exactly. And then the last one is hysterectomy. And of course, there are a hysterectomy is removing the uterus, and there are 3 different ways to remove the uterus. So you can go partial, or you can go like the whole shebang. You can keep certain things and not. I don't know. It seems like I'm also shopping for a car because of the car accident. So it seems like a package plan. It really does. What part of your uterus do you want to keep? Do you still have kids? Do you not
I want power
kids?
windows.
I know, exactly. I think the power windows option. No, I don't know which one that would be.
It's my one medical term that I know is bilateral salpingo oophorectomy.
Oh, look at you.
Yes.
Nice.
So that's bilateral, so it's both sides.
Right.
Salpingo's south, bottom half of the body.
Right.
And
then you lost
is
me.
ovaries.
Oh, okay,
and
gotcha.
rectomy is removal.
Ah, look at you with your fancy Latin hysterectomy
Stating a
knowledge.
dude who's going to be like an X-ray tech. That's like the one medical thingy I remember. And my mom had her hysterectomy last year.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I get to use my medical word all the time.
Understand what this technology is.
My mother had a bilateral salpingo oophorectomy.
It kind of sounds like you're about to break into song.
It kind of does. It really does. It sounds like you know what you're talking about, but then it's the ooh that it's like, wait a second. And then we all do a little dance. Exactly. So yeah, so those are your many treatment options that are out there. And I'm going to be honest, I think all of them are freaking terrifying in various different ways. Some of them I think look medieval torture. You know what I mean? Kind of like that's a walk in the park for medieval torture than it is some of these. But that's okay. But what I decided to do eventually is share my fibroid stories on the Gals Guide Facebook group. And you know what? I was far from being alone, which was wonderful. I had told Katie and Bonnie, but when I opened it up to kind of more stories, I was using it also please don't yell at us that we haven't done anything. I've been sick. But so many gals reached out to me that have dealt with fibroids, or their friend did, or their sister did, or their mother did, and they were all okay. That was the thing that was really nice. That was the thing that I was saying is yeah, you know what? This sucks. But they're all okay. They're all still with us right now. So I got so much support and advice, and so many women have had so many different surgeries, of those 8, you know what I mean? There's a lot of options out there. So that was really, really nice. So as much as a bummer as it might be on the surface to be ooh, fibroids is my one cool thing, I picked it because a lot of us might have fibroids. I won't say all of us will, but a lot of us might. And they're little bastards, and some of us get shamed into thinking we're alone and we shouldn't talk about this, and you know what I mean? It's these little tumors and nobody wants to talk about it. Also, our hormones are all stirred up, and it makes us freaking crazy for a while, so that feeds into the, you're alone and you're gonna die and all that stuff. Because, a sad song comes on the radio and it's no! And then you're lost for a while. But by talking about it and putting myself out there, know that, we're not alone, that it's a very common problem. So never be afraid to talk about it. I'm just saying. There's always a gal pal in your corner that is totally ready to be do you need ice cream? And do you need pizza? And do you need margaritas? And the answer is always yes. So, yes. So, have you girls heard about fibroids before?
Not before you.
Oh, not before me. Oh, well, you're welcome. I say with a question mark. Have you heard of them before?
Not as detailed, but
well, you're welcome.
I had
for that, yeah.
general, I remember that X-ray I had, and I was like, oh, I didn't know you could have growths that nobody cared about.
Right? Surprise!
Yeah, I had heard of ovary cysts.
Yes, I'd heard of that.
Fibroids.
Yep. My sister-in-law had cysts and had them removed, and they were totally fine. Yours because you said they were cysts, and
I don't even remember what 7 years ago, but
yeah, exactly.
So, what is the difference between a cyst and a fibroid?
That I actually don't know because they haven't. In my stuff, they haven't seemed to use the same word.
It's not interchangeable. Then
I don't know if it's a non-cancerous growth that just happens to be on the ovaries, and so therefore they call that a cyst, or if it's what it's made out of.
I was going to say
You know what I
cysts
mean?
are typically fluid filled.
Okay, and
Right?
this isn't. This
That's
is a
what
hard muscle mass. It's,
Okay.
It's basically a cell that was supposed to become muscle lining that got the wrong clues.
Okay.
And it started to just kind of like become a hardened little thing.
And then it just wanted to eat all the estrogen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It got hungry on itself.
Yeah,
so.
I think what I had was a cyst, so I take it back. I take it back.
Gotcha. You're fine.
You wear the special fibroid crown.
I really don't want it, but
Alright.
thank you.
Well, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So when you were reading about, well, the book and the facts,
Yes.
and then as you've had people reach out to you,
Yeah.
do you feel like what they choose to do is based on the severity of their condition, what the fibroid's doing and looks like, or do you think it's personal choice or a combination? I mean, with all these options,
I know, right?
What
Why
do you
is there
think's
so
the
many?
driving force in what people choose?
I think it's a variety of stuff, and I think they don't know what they're doing. And I hate to say that, but I really don't think there's...
They're just following doctor orders
Or
without
something. Like,
yeah,
I
maybe.
feel for the longest time, if there's something wrong with the uterus, it's just get that thing out of there. Hysterectomy.
It's just, you know,
like,
get
bang.
pregnant. That'll solve it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it feels like those are the two options. Like,
Bonnie,
get
you sound like a
pregnant,
doctor.
and it'll fix itself, Dr. Bonnie. Or remove that uterus, and you're going to be totally fine, no more problems. And it's like, wait a second. So I think they're trying to figure out the different scenarios, but just the way that they're kind of like approaching it, like I said, seems medieval.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't seem like it's nurturing, except for now with the partial hysterectomies where it's like, well, if you still want to have kids, we've got ways to get around that. And I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah, you can get like, some people have been doing where they get their uterus removed, but they still have the ovary, or
Yes. Yeah, they still have their
Or is it
tubes
the
and the
other way?
ovaries, and yeah, you
no.
can
There's
do a
something.
partial.
Maybe it's
I don't know how it works.
No, it's you get your tubes tied or whatever.
Yes.
But you still have everything, so you can still do like the in vitro fertilization. Like like they're not going to drop, but they're still in there.
Right.
So you could have an in vitro if you still wanted to have a baby thing.
There are plenty of options that they have that I talked about that still allow you to have kids, that give you the chance of that. And so there's other options where, like me, it's like I'm done having kids. I just don't know if I want my uterus out.
Right.
But I also like
There's
need to know the
side
severity.
effects, symptom. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
side effects. You're going to deal with a lot from
Complications.
having that.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
that's not a
full-on
simple
surgery.
thing, right?
Yeah. So I mean, there was one of my friends had a partial hysterectomy. She's like, it was pretty much like 48 hours, and I was, right back in action. And again, I'm like, that's good to know.
Yeah.
So sweet, because I figured that's a serious surgery. It'll take a bit. I mean,
Right.
Mom was up. She had a hysterectomy. She had some bleeding, and I was asking her, if it was
are you
the
okay? Yeah.
fibroids, like what?
Right.
Because I knew she had some bleeding, and they were like, "Well, we can just take it out." She was like, "I'm not using it
Right.
anymore." She's like, "Go for it." So she had it removed, and she was up that day.
Cool.
I mean, she was kind of on like bed resty for like a week, but
Yeah.
she's been fine.
Yeah. See. So it's not the end of the world. I'm
I
like,
think she was
yeah.
she's post menopause. She had
Gotcha.
menopause early.
Gotcha.
See, I thought I had.
Yeah.
What I understood was people talking about like issues with hormones after
Yeah.
having the removal, like
Right.
dealing with having hormones out of balance and issues with that.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I don't know either. I mean, that's why I didn't. Well, also that's why it's like I wanted my IUD out, because I was just like, you know what? I'm sick of the hormones that this thing is kind of doing. Like, I want to get back.
Right.
I want to get back to basics, y'all. So I did, and apparently I got an extra dosage.
Your body's keeping it real.
Exactly. You want it real, girl. You're gonna get all of it. All of it. So yes, I figured another thing that we could do. Do you guys have any? What are your best tips for getting through like a bad period or bad cramps? Do you have anybody ever give you, like, that's the thing. Like, did anybody ever give you words of advice? I had the bag of peas. You know, like how, like, you get punched in the eye and you put like the bag of, vegetables, the frozen vegetables, is to put that basically on your uterus and be like, just wait it out. Like, watch a romance or rom-com and get a frozen bag of vegetables and wait those cramps out. That was the only advice I had.
Everyone's gonna hate me. I've lucked out on the period train.
Nice.
I have pretty light periods, especially I've been on birth control for like 10 years, so it's like 3 days now.
Oh,
I rarely get
nice.
cramps Like, I really just, like, go to the bathroom more, and my stomach's, like, a little more sensitive. Like, I don't have that many symptoms. Which I'm thinking menopause is going to be really bad.
It might be. If not, that is awesome, though. That is the dream. You're living like Larry.
But no, I would, but, like, I remember having those heat pads.
Yes.
Is really good. Like, either, like, the electronic one, or a
Right.
heated blanket, or those, like, patch thingies. You can just stick
the
on
icy
there.
hot sticky thingies.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
Those are nice.
That's a good advice. Katie, do you have any good advice?
A little bit like Bonnie, but in a different way. I have also had a Murena since I had Jonah, so that's been 7 years now.
There you go.
So I don't get a period.
Right.
And I feel like I love that for now.
I know, it was nice. It was 10 years of my life. It was so nice.
Right. I love that for now. It can be hard every once in a while because I feel like, I haven't empowered my health as much as you have, so I don't know. But I feel like I still do have the waves of hormones, even if I'm not having the bleeding.
Yeah.
So sometimes,
You still
I'll
get
be
the one. Yay.
sometimes I'll be like, not my usual cheerful, wonderful self, but I don't have the confirmation of what's going on with my body, like the proof.
Right.
So I'm like, maybe not.
That's where you go like, that's why I've been a monster.
But I have experienced really horrible cramps, and my go-to was always just Midol.
I know.
That's
Actually,
the one that I'm not a
yeah.
pill taker, but that cramps are something that I don't mess around with. I'm like,
Yeah.
we're taking the pills. We're hydrating.
Mine
we're
was,
calling it a day.
Midol and ice cream. For some odd reason, those two like went together. And I'm not like a big ice cream person, but my goodness, especially in the early teenage years, I'm like, no, it is a Midol and ice cream day. Just back away. And probably listen to Nirvana at the same time, like at the top of my lungs.
No, it was really funny. Speaking of mood and music in relation to periods, at the beginning this week, I was super grouchy. And then for some reason, all I wanted to do was listen to female power ballads, breakup songs.
Oh,
That's
breakup
all
songs.
I wanted to listen to. And I'm like, what? This is not a typical mood for me.
Maybe Gals Guide should make a playlist because we have the empowerment mix.
We should have the period mix.
We should have the period mix. Yeah, exactly. Period power.
Period power.
Exactly. I love it. Well, that wraps it up for us. So join us next week where it's either going to be Katie or Bonnie. We shall see. We'll have their one cool thing. So thanks for listening to Gals Guide to the Galaxy podcast. For show notes, links, and images from this week's show, visit galsguide.org. Want exclusive stuff like deleted bits and major bloopers? Become a Gals Guide patron today. Thanks for listening.